In anticipation of the new 90th anniversary Lion Knight's Castle coming out, I thought it'd be really fun to take a step back in time to see one of the inspirations for that castle. This is King's Mountain Fortress from 1990, one of the original Lion Knight's castles. Things have obviously changed a lot since the 90s when it comes to LEGO castles, most notably the fact that they aren't really made anymore. But hopefully that'll change. But anyway, this set still has a lot to offer, even though it's well over 30 years old at this point. So let's take a closer look. The late 80s and early 90s were kind of a golden era for LEGO Castle, and I dare say because of that, a golden era for LEGO as a whole. The Lion Knights were a faction, one of several concurrent factions running during this period, alongside Forcemen, which has also made a reappearance very recently with a gift with purchase. Also Falcon Knights, which have been included in some creator sets, and the LEGO Ideas Blacksmith, as well as others. The Lion Knight sub-theme was also sometimes referred to as the Crusaders. The only Lion Knight set larger than this one was Lion Knight's Castle, released in 1984. As I mentioned earlier, this is set number 6081, King's Mountain Fortress. The mountain, of course, being represented by one of those large raised base plates, which we'll definitely have to take a closer look at because it's quite interesting. This thing has 435 pieces altogether, 8 minifigures, and would have retailed for $58 in 1990, which sounds pretty terrible, but it gets worse. If you adjust that for inflation in 2022 dollars, you're looking at something like $130 is what this set would cost. There's no way you're going to be able to pick this up for $130 today. It goes for about $200, a little over $200 used. Before we get to the beautiful castle itself, let's highlight the minifigures. The set comes with 2 crossbow-wielding knights. They have the yellow version of the Lion Knight shield and a very common chainmail torso print right there. Most of the minifigures in this lineup use the traditional smiley face as well. We also get 2 other generic army building knights. They got the blue shield this time around. In this set, one has an axe and one has a spear, both in old brown. Their torso bears the Lion Knight's emblem. Then we get 2 much more interesting knights, kitted out quite nicely. They both feature those special plume pieces, which is really cool to see. This guy here features the yellow shield again, and the second knight has a smaller plume and has the blue shield. Underneath both of those helmets, again, is just that regular smiley face. The maiden figure included is perhaps the most interesting figure in the set. Now, her torso print is actually exclusive to the set, but her hat there and face print are relatively rare. The hat was produced in 3 colors altogether, I believe: black, white, and red. This piece is probably most well known for its appearance in Guarded In, a set that was released twice, actually. Overall, a really cool figure. Definitely the most valuable one of the set, and unfortunately one I had to buy separately because mine had disappeared. The last figure is the one that is not unique to this set, comes in a number of other sets, and if you are familiar with classic LEGO at all, you will of course recognize this ghost minifigure. So it does, or at one point, glowed in the dark. Oh yeah, it's not amazing, but it's definitely got some glow to it still. A really fun piece there that just goes over regular minifigure head and torso, and then they have you swap out the legs for a brick and a plate instead. The instructions have you put the ghost inside the castle, just a little bit haunting it, and can be accessed by opening this up and scaring off the Falcon Knights who are coming to attack. We've also got 2 horses here, black horse, red saddle. The set was kind enough to include the horse inserts, so you can take off the saddle and still have a complete horse. This horse here is far more interesting, with this really nice barding on it. So this came in 3 other sets, but is still quite valuable. It goes for about $15 used. Really, really cool design with the lions on it. So the layout of the set is quite fun just by nature of the raised base plate. There is a ramp here in the back that leads up to the main part of the castle, and then on the side here is actually a giant pit. And while raised base plates were pretty common during this era, this was actually the first castle to be built atop one. This specific ramp raised base plate shows up in a number of other sets with different prints on it and in different colors. This specific print and color combination is included in one other castle set as well. as many of the raised base plates are, it is quite expensive to get your hands on and quite valuable. I wish LEGO would do stuff like this. I know it's not pretty, but it adds so much mass to this castle. It easily doubles its size. It feels like it's on top of a mountain, which is fitting for King's Mountain Fortress. To access the castle, you'll need to get through the drawbridge. It uses a few simple techniques to make this actually retractable drawbridge. There's no hardcore tying needed, which was of great delight to me. I thought I'd have to tie this all around. The string here is actually held in place by just smashing it down between some bricks, and then it's fed through these handle pieces on the bottom. It's all just one single string that starts up here, goes through the drawbridge, comes back up and connects between some bricks. And then we have these two wonderful big brown doors that you'll have to get past. That connects pretty seamlessly to the ramp, where you can take your figures the rest of the way up. Now that ramp is actually something LEGO tried to replicate in the 90th anniversary castle, which is cool to see. Most of this outer wall is pretty plain. The only thing of note is there actually is a Technic pin, and I had to look through some of the other late 80s sets, and sure enough, a lot of them, including Guarded Inn, actually have pins like this on the side, so you can actually build out your castle. I imagine if you had been collecting castles throughout the 80s, you could have a pretty epic lineup. In terms of interior on this thing, not much going on, especially in the back. There's this interesting, almost jail-like window detailing at the back of the top tower. It's not a dungeon because there's a dungeon elsewhere in this set, and you can get easy access to the rest of the castle from up here. However, there is a trap door of sorts. It doesn't fall down because it's a friction hinge. Pulling this allows you to push in the trap door. There's lots of room to place minifigures. Makes for a pretty fun display piece. All around the top, you can have your many knights overlooking the castle walls, which is cool to see. There's also supplementary weapons dotted around, an extra pair of crossbows on this top tower, some flags. Great stuff. I'll have to double check, but the flame piece might not have been introduced yet in 1990. That's why we get these trans yellow cones used for torches throughout the set instead, which is interesting. Another thing that must have not existed in 1990 is our familiar coin pieces. There is indeed a treasure chest down in this pit, and inside of it are simply one by one round yellow plates and a yellow goblet for our treasure. In the pit, there's this openable platform, and I hate to say it, but I think that's where you throw your enemies and you bury them. While the set doesn't have any guys to put into it, the castle does have a pretty interesting dungeon, making use of one of these massive dungeon doors. There's actually plenty of space on the inside because they've made use of the same 3x3 corner walls that show up in multiple places throughout this set. We've got two additional trees here. This one is actually made using the original palm tree pieces, which are wonderful, absolutely wonderful. They're so expensive to come by now, unfortunately, because they're great and popular, but instead of palm tree leaves, you get a regular 5x6 leaves that are still in production today. So one of the few exclusive pieces actually in the set is this black bird. It is the very familiar parrot mold, just done in all black. This parrot actually comes in a variety of colors, and if you want to collect them all, you're gonna lose a lot of money real fast because some of the parrot colors are very rare. So without figures on it, I think the castle looks kind of plain. But once we get some knights populating this thing, I think we're in for a bit of a treat. The only thing that King's Mountain Fortress is missing is King. This is a fun set. You gotta love the classic castle stuff. When you think of classic castle, classic Lego even, this is it, right? Raised base plate, big pieces, lots of studs. The generic smiley-faced minifigures, colorful minifigures, all those great shields. It's classic Lego. It's lovable. It's charming. There's even this, honestly, quite brilliant feature. Completely avoids the use of Technic, just like how I build. I mean, for 435 pieces, you'd expect something a lot smaller than this. It is quite a bulky castle for that piece count. It's also crazy to think that you can get a used copy of this 30-year-old set for cheaper than you're going to be able to get the new Lion Knight's castle. as cool as that castle is, I think I'll be content with having this one for the time being, because this is beautiful and wonderful. And even though there's not a lot of interior stuff going on, it's easily added. This would be a fun set to upgrade. Just take like the same base plate and the same minifigures, but use today's existing parts to make this something that looks almost like that new 90th anniversary castle. That might be a fun project for me in the meantime. I hope you enjoyed the look at this set. This one was really fun to put back together. Thanks for watching. Have a great life. I'll see you next time.